Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy Sunday, or whatever day or time of day you might be listening to this podcast. Welcome back to the Bookcast. I am so glad you are here, boos and bros, book pals, fans of the written word. I'm a little bit loopy. I know you can hear it in my voice. I got a lot of nasally things going on. I do have a cold. I think I am on the end of it, but I am very coughy, sneezy, sniffly, and I have not taken any cold meds because I'm weird. So I think after I record, I may actually take cold meds. So anyhow, welcome back to the Bookcast. I am D.L. White, your host. I am an Atlanta-based author of 15 published novels, 16 written ones that you'll hear about Calculated Risk later this year. Actually, I think it's more than 16 because I have also finished Missing Persons. I don't know. I've lost count now is where I'm at. I know I'm not at 20 yet. Anyway, novels, short stories, fan fiction, I write them. I also read. I'm a reader first. So we begin with the book report as always, and then we talk about writing and topics of the day. I no longer plan out this podcast, so that's why I'm rambling, and perhaps I should go back to planning out the podcast, but honestly, I feel like it goes so much better when I get up, I look at my book report information, my Goodreads challenge mainly, figure out where I'm at for the month so I can report. Look at my sales to see, like, do I have anything to talk about? Yes, no, maybe. Is it exciting or is it meh? Look at my writing stats. How's that going? And then I press record. And I was using Riverside, and I still have like a login there. But it's just like an extra step. Like, all I need is Audacity. I just open Audacity and I start recording. So I feel like it's going a little bit better, actually. I don't have to script out every word I need to say. So, we're gonna do what works until it doesn't work anymore. Anyway, I don't think this episode is going to be long, but who knows, because I didn't script it out. So it could be 40 minutes of me yammering about books. Who knows? Anyhow, so let's get rolling. We're going to have a little coffee break. And then after the jump, we're going to talk about books and writing. Today is Sunday, January 12th. It is 8:11 a.m. There is snow on the ground here in Atlanta, which I'm very surprised about. I actually figured it would be gone like by tomorrow, but it is cold outside. I took some garbage out this morning, and it's chilly. Hopefully we get above 40 degrees today and this stuff starts melting, because Monday and Friday are work from home days for us. But if this stuff is still on the ground on Tuesday, I ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. Anyhow, let's have some coffee and then come back to talk about books. Begin with the book report. Let me get to my tab because I didn't write any of this down because I'm smart. We are 12 days into the year, and I haven't done an update since January 1. So we are just going to call this like for the year. I'm at 14 books completed. I am 11 books ahead of schedule. My goal is, of course, set at 100 books as always. I always set it at 100 on January 1, and we see where we are by, mid-year, like the end of June. I'll evaluate. Maybe I will raise it to 150, 175. Last year, I ended up with 225 books. I had a lot that I needed to hide from, and that worked out really well for me, actually. This year, I'm doing a little something different. I'm trying to duplicate my books on the StoryGraph because I want to see like all the pretty graphs and whatever. There's a lot that goes into tracking a book on StoryGraph, and I just want to track the book and the dates that I read them. I don't want to fill out all this extra information. So I'm really not doing all that. So I don't know how pretty my charts are going to look, but Goodreads doesn't do very good reporting to me. And I like numbers, and I like reports and graphs and pie charts and bar charts. So I am not actually a big fan of the StoryGraph. It's too plain for me. Like it simultaneously does too much and not enough. And that I don't like the interface. I can't see what all my friends are reading. It's not very social. Goodreads is like very social. I can see what everybody else is reading, what everybody else is reviewing, what everybody else is, adding, what do they call them? What shelves everybody's adding their books to. Like, Goodreads is very social to me, and I've been saying this for a long time. I'm not giving up anything that makes my life easier and enjoyable. I do not care what Jeff Bezos is doing. I don't. He owns 8% of Amazon. 8. If I'm not participating in Amazon stuff, like me not sending him $14.99 a month for Prime isn't going to make him less of a billionaire. So I'm not making my life harder to stand arm in arm with people who can't even get in the booth with me. I don't care. So that's my stance on it. I'm at Goodreads. I enjoy Goodreads. I'm duplicating at the StoryGraph so I can participate in a couple of challenges that are hosted there, and also just so I can see, what my reading year is going to look like graph-wise. So I'm at 14 books for the year. A lot of that is audio, I'm pretty sure. And let's just take a look at what I have been reading this year. Melinda Lee, Track Her Down. This is number 10 in the Bree Taggart series. Bree Taggart is, of course, a female sheriff out in the Northwest. I believe it's the Oregon area. I love this series, and I've been gobbling them down. I need Melinda Lee and Kendra Elliott to write many, many books much faster. And then I caught up a little bit on some holiday reading. A Winter Crest Christmas Reloaded, Nia and Zen by an author named Corday. This was, I think this was like a urban romance is what they call it. It's one of those, like, you can tell by the cover, by the font, and how it's all like shiny and whatever. One of those. There was a lot of sex in it, so there's that. If that's something that interests you, it's a thing that doesn't really interest me much anymore. Like, I like reading sex in a novel as much as the next guy, but after like the first 2 scenes, I get it. They like each other. I'm good. Like, I like that it's there. Like, if I want to go back and read a sex scene, I know where to find it. But I don't read books for the sex. So I want to know how, like, does the plot sizzle as much as those bedroom scenes sizzle? And sometimes the plot don't be sizzling. So, like, a lot of times when I write the story to make sure the story has legs. And I already know, like, this scene is going to lead to sex. That scene's going to be, like, suggestive, but I can closed door that one. But I already know which scenes are going to have sex in them, but I leave that out. And then in draft 2 is when I go through front to back. I'm writing, I'm rewriting, I'm fluffing, I'm adding. And every time I go through that book, I am adding more to each scene so that it's full and it's fleshed out. That's how I do it. And, like, I know I am not one of them popular girls out here, but I feel like my books Like it works out good for me. I want to make sure that the story is about the story and the sex is an added benefit. That's an obvious part of a modern adult relationship. Anyway, I picked up 2 Audible originals, One More to Die by Joy Ellis and Tell Her Story by Margot Hunt. I honestly don't remember what these books were about. They were short, like 2 hours and whatever. I read those on the 2nd, or I listened to those on the 2nd. And then The Family Lies by Angela Henry, I believe, publishes January 14th. So this coming up. So I had this as an arc. Like, this was really good until it was not. Angela Henry is a new to me author. I think I started following her on TikTok around like 2023. And she had, it's not her first book, but the first book I know by her called The Perfect Ties or something like that. And that book was pretty good, but she gets to a point in her book where it kind of jumps off a cliff and then it just becomes entirely too complicated and I can't follow the story. This story, it was actually pretty good, about a woman that gets a job managing the personal library of this very wealthy family. And there's just like a bunch of like, not creepy, but like weird stuff that's happening in the house. Like, she has to live in the house. The dude that owns the house and is like the patriarch of the family, I guess, that hires her, he's got like some weird stuff going on. It was really good. And then like the last fourth of the book was just a lot of what? Wait, what? So I think I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like the most amazing book I've ever read. The Family Lies by Angela Henry. And then I listened to The Setup by Falguni Kothari. This was pretty good. This was like it was an Audible original about, I believe they are a Daisy family, and grandpa, I believe, or an uncle, I can't remember, is trying to set a young woman up with a man so she can get married. And at first they don't like each other, and then they start to grow on each other. It was really cute, and it was, it's an Audible original, so it was pretty short. Then I stumbled upon this series and I ate it all the way up. The Lacey James series by Chris Patchell. Lacey James is I believe she's a young investigator, detective. And I found the first one, which I think is Find Her. And it's been, 10 days since I read this book, so I don't remember the exact the synopsis of the book. It's a police procedural, which is my absolute catnip. I ran through all 4 of the books in this series in 2 days, which I'm wont to do. Hello, Robert Dugoni, Kendra Elliott, Melinda Lee. I'm all over it. So this series is really good. I really, really enjoyed it. All of these books, I believe, are available on Everand if you are a member. I think they're also at Chirp if you want to just buy them outright. I think I borrowed them, not borrowed, but I think I got them at Libro. I don't remember. Or maybe it was Everand. I don't know. Can't remember. But Chris Patchell, really good series. And I think there is another coming out in that series in a few weeks. So I'm excited about that. And then I grabbed Brenda Novak, Shooting the Moon from NetGalley. This is an audio arc. And I take all the audio arcs I can get because I want to keep getting more. This is a audio release of an old Brenda Novak book. And it showed it did not age well. It was rather uninteresting, but it was a story about a guy who comes back to his hometown to claim the son that he quote unquote left behind. the mother of his child died in a car accident, I believe, and his mother's the child's aunt has been raising him, and grandparents have like been taking over since the child's mother died. Like way back when they were dating, he was quote unquote bad news from the other side of the tracks, and dad paid him to go away, and he comes back like, hey, I need access to my son. And yeah, oh gosh. Yeah. White authored romance doesn't hit me at all anymore. It just doesn't do anything for me. But I listened to it. I got all the way through it. Gotta send my review off to NetGalley, and we're done with that. And that's just gonna be the last that we're gonna do of that. And then I got Brenda Jackson released the first 3 books in the Westmoreland Legacy series. The Rancher Returns, His Secret Son, and An Honorable Seduction in one bundle. So this was like a long listen. This took me like a couple days to get through. I put this on Blue Sky. Whenever I think that I have put too much sex in a book, I am just going to refer to Brenda Jackson romance, because I promise you, once her characters start having sex, it's sex in every chapter. But the thing that Miss Jackson does is that story is tight. There is a beginning, and there is a climax, and there is an end. That story is tight. The sex isn't like the book. The story isn't the sex. The story is the story, and the sex enhances. There just is a lot of it. So I just sometimes like I'm reading and I'm like, again? Oh my goodness. Whoo, Lord. So I'm to the point where I kind of skip through a lot of that, and I just want to know what happens in the story. Thankfully, there is so much pleasure in reading the story itself. So those 3 I got through. I can't say I will ever listen to 3 audiobooks in one bundle at a time ever again, but Brenda Jackson is not a bad way to spend a couple of days. And then had a couple days off from reading, because that was a lot. That was a lot of reading in 9 days. And then yesterday I picked up on, well, actually Friday I picked up The Secret Witness by Victor Mythos, because I wanted to read book 2, then realized I hadn't read book 1, which was The Secret Witness, so I picked that up. It wasn't the best book I ever read. I like Victor Mythos, and I see why I started this and then stopped reading it because it was a little bit boring. But I did want to read book 1 before I read book 2. So now I'm going to pick up book 2. I don't even remember what the name of book 2 is, but I got that out of the way, so I can pick up book 2 now. So I got that, and then I read yesterday. I have been so deep in thriller, suspense, mystery since January 1. I needed some romance. I woke up yesterday like, I need a romance immediately. And Reese Ryan just released book 3 in the Love and Music Suite series. I believe this is her first self-published series, and she's doing such an amazing job with it. I am so pleased and proud of this work that Reese Ryan has been doing. More Than Friends is a friends to lovers romance, and it's a second chance because they dated in high school and decided that they would rather be friends, except one of them did not really want to stay friends, and hence, like, that's how friends to lovers always is, which kind of ticks me off. Like, one of them is always like hanging out in the cut, hoping the situation will change. Meanwhile, I will just take your friendship as a consolation prize. It's never that they're like actual like friends, and then one day they look at each other and they're like, hey, so why haven't we ever, like, that's the friends to lovers I want to read. That's a friends to lovers I would write. So I got that read yesterday. It was excellent, excellent. Like when I am reading and talking back to the book and highlighting things, it's a good read. I really, really enjoyed it. It's fun. It's set in Atlanta, which I like a lot. And I just really enjoyed it. It's very good. More Than Friends, A Second Chance, Friends to Love is Romance by Reese Ryan. Like I love a Reese Ryan book. She is like a Sunday afternoon snuggle down with a book kind of author for me. I have several of those like Cynthia Williams, Delaney Diamond, Sharon C. Cooper, Nia Forrester. Like if I have a Sunday afternoon and I need to fill it with a book, I will dig through their catalog for something I haven't read. Turn on like the Fire channel on YouTube, or lately I've been listening to like this lo-fi channel and grab me a snack, a beverage, and I'm out. I am out, and that is the best day for me. So that was the 14 books I've read so far in January. I am, of course, not done reading because come on, but it's been a good look so far. I've been happy with my reading. So moving on super quickly to books, sales have dropped considerably since the holidays. Of course, things really slow down when the kids go back to school and the earth catches on fire and or freezes. There's been a lot going on, so sales have been a little slow. I'm not promoting as much. There's not a whole lot going on, but it'll pick up hopefully toward like the second half of the month. My books are in a book funnel promo. It's an indie sales promo, which is going to move a lot slower, I think, than a like a giveaway, but this is definitely geared toward supporting indie author sales. So that's at Book Funnel. I'll be talking about that in my newsletter this week. Also in my newsletter, I will be talking about, I think I told you guys I wrote a newsletter magnet, like a short little story that you can only get in my newsletter. You can now also get it if you are a paid subscriber to my short fiction Substack. It's shortfiction by dlwhite.substack.com. That's also loaded up there. If you're a paid subscriber, you have automatic access to that as well as my weekly serial. Same time next week, which is actually almost done. I have maybe 4 chapters, which is like 2 days worth of posting. That's almost done. So if you were waiting to subscribe until same time next week was already all loaded up, you might as well go and subscribe now. It's $5 a month. Short fiction by dlwhite.substack.com. Get into it. Same time next week is a serial. It's an interracial. I should actually say it's an interracial rock star romance that I wrote. It was fan fiction and then it was original fiction, and I unpublished it because it's interracial. And I be writing black on black, Negro-nosed romance. So I brought it back as a serial because it's already written, and I have been publishing it twice a week in theory on my short fiction Substack. It is paid access only. I do have some free stuff on there. I also have a fan fiction story that I started writing. I actually started writing it in August and kind of lost the plot and stopped updating. And then I got an email from a reader that said they had started it and wondered if I was going to finish it. And I was like, what? So I went back to the archive and I was like, oh yeah, I did start this. And then I started getting ideas. And so I have been updating that. And so that's really fun. And that is a fun one about a woman named Zoe Chapman. She is an aspiring songwriter, and she gets a chance to attend a songwriter's retreat with JC Chazet. And this is a thing that he does, except I think he usually does it in Nashville. The story is called Music of My Heart because it was the only song title I could think of, which is weird. I'm trying to bring it up so I can read the synopsis. When aspiring songwriter Zoe Chapman joins J.C. Chazet's exclusive mountain retreat, she's looking for a musical mentorship, not to fall for the man behind the legend. But as their late-night studio sessions blur the lines between professional and personal, they discover their hearts might be writing a very different song. So I started writing this in August and I picked it up in December. It's just like some fun fan fiction stuff. If you have any interest in NSYNC whatsoever, I almost exclusively write JC. He's just a very interesting character to me, especially JC in his 40s as opposed to JC in his teens and 20s. It's been very fun to watch him grow as an artist, as a writer, as a person. And so writing this older, more mature mentor type person who still is susceptible to meeting someone amazing that they should probably avoid but can't. I like it a lot. So that's going on my short fiction Substack. Fan fiction is always free, and I do have some fan fiction stories that are written there, and I have the serial that's there. I believe I have one serial that's free there on the short fiction Substack. That is the story of Kate, which I really, really, really loved writing. And like writing that really helped me write Missing Persons because I needed to I just needed to turn my brain toward something that isn't so like lovey-dovey, soft place to landy. So there's the story of Kate that's up there. I really enjoyed writing. The Photograph is up there. That's a 4-part series that I wrote for the podcast last year. Really enjoyed writing that, and all of those really helped push me toward writing Missing Persons, which is done, but I do need to go through like edits and rewrites and fluffing and adding and verifying things I just made up because it sounded good. So very exciting things going on the Substack. But I was talking about book sales. So I'm at 5446 for the year. Sales are spread across basically Amazon and Drafted Digital. Then I have 21 sales through BookFunnel, which is direct sales. So 21 sales through my channels. But a lot of those were free copies of The Guy Next Door. I was giving that away in audio for some reason. I can't remember. So most of those are giveaways. The sales through Amazon and Drafted Digital are sales that have actual royalties attached to them. Biggest sellers this month are Leslie's Curl and Dye in audio, The Guy Next Door in ebook, Home for the Holidays. I sold 11 copies of Home for the Holidays in January, which is darn good. A Thin Line, Dinner at Sam's, and then I have a couple of sales of Pearl at Black Diamond Bay and Elysium Black Diamond Vacation Romance. Those are both part of the Black Diamond series. And then a couple of straggler orders for a second time around, The Guy Next Door and the Kwanzaa Brunch. That's kind of how my sales are. And then like a couple sales, I guess, for Hey Lovers. So that's kind of how my sales are breaking down for the month. Not too bad. I mean, not great, but like not too bad so far. It's before the 15th. So like if I hit $50 before the 15th, it bodes well for the rest of the month. So I'm at 54.46. I just try to make $100 a month. That covers a lot of the subscriptions that I'm paying for, although I subsidize a lot of that with my own money. And then I have like my Substack subscriptions and my BuzzFeed subscriptions that helps also pay some costs. But a lot of the costs of being an author and running a podcast, I am paying for out of pocket. And so what I'm getting in royalties and subscriptions is actually reimbursing me for stuff I've already paid for. But that's neither here nor there. You know what I'm saying? Get out my pocket. So that's what's going on with book sales. Writing wise, it's been kind of slow. I have been trying to write this Valentine's Day piece for a minute, and it's kind of not coming together, and I'm a little upset about it. Like, I keeping changing the title because I can't even decide what the title should be, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's not it's not really coming together. It's kind of a jumbled mess. I'm on like chapter 3 and I just keep going back to chapters 1 and 2 and fixing things, because if it doesn't start right, then I set off again on the wrong foot. It's currently called Rules and Romance. It is kind of an opposites attract, grumpy sunshine kind of thing. It's set in Atlanta in the tech space, which I really enjoy writing because I just like writing smart people. And my characters happen to meet in the cafe at the co-working space where they both work at. Sterling has just relocated to Atlanta from New York, and Simone lives in Atlanta, and she works for a tech company, and it's her job to put together this hiring platform that her company is putting together, and they're going to premiere it at this big gala. And Simone is very much an introvert. Probably not as bad as Esme in the Neverlist, but as an introvert, I do find myself writing introverts because I know them very well. So it's like I want to write it, I want it to come together, but I also want it to be short. And it just, in my mind, it just keeps, I feel like when I write short, I leave so much out, but I also don't want to write a 75,000 word novel, you know? I just want this to be like a cute short that's going to be out for Valentine's Day. I'm going to take a look at it later. We'll see how it shakes out. I might just need to give it some time and, hit it really hard toward the end of January. I don't really have time. I don't have time. I don't have time really to get it to my editor. I needed to be writing this in November in order for her to have it in January. But here's where we are. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I know she listens to the podcast. This is not any pressure. This is not an editor Kai problem. This is a DL White problem. So I may not get it written in time. It may be something I write and shoot out, and y'all just have fun with all the typos in it. I would never do that. Maybe. I don't know. I just want to be, I want to write more. I want to publish more. And I just want to be less rigid about how it has to come out. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be edited to the nth degree. And editing is not terribly expensive because I have a very good editor who is cognizant of how much indie authors have to put their own money into their writing. This is not absolutely not sucking up to my editor. We have had this conversation, but also I want to reserve those funds for my full-length projects that desperately need an extra eye. So these things where it's going to be 5 or 8 chapters, and I'm going to sell it for 99 cents. I'm not going to spend on editing it. I'm just not. And, sue me, but I'm just not. So that's kind of where that is. It's currently called Rules and Romance. Maybe I'll switch the order and it could be Romance and Rules, but I don't like that. The idea is that it's kind of an opposite attract kind of thing. And so I want to play on the two sides of this equation. Like, it's a very grumpy sunshine kind of thing. So I may change the name again. I don't know. So there's that. The other thing I'm writing is the fan fiction story. And I just published chapter 7 on Friday. I don't know that I have another chapter in me this weekend. I want to think about what the next chapter entails. It's a little bit of a field trip, and I need to think about it and put it together. So I'm probably going to think about that this week and probably write it Thursday and post it Friday. That's used to be my old fan fiction publishing schedule. I usually write on the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then I edit, think about what I'm going to write, post. So that way readers always have a week to read it, react to it, offer comments and feedback, etc. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about and writing the next chapter. And I kind of have adapted that also to writing my books and my commercial fiction. So there's that. What else do I have going on? Let me open up Dabble here and see what's popping. I do have the Berkeley Sisters, which is the Sisters trilogy I've been yammering about for like 2 years now. Missing Persons, which I still need to get into. Calculated Risk is in here. That's with the editor. I have to turn that in at the end of February. Again, that's part of a group project. Still I Rise, I haven't touched. I did add I tried to do some editing on it, and I feel like I added like half a chapter to that in the last year, but it's still on the docket. And I also was trying to do an epilogue to the Never List, and I can't even tell you the title because that would be a spoiler, but I want to dig back into that and see if I could just do a fun little 5-chapter update to that story, because I just love Esme and Trey, and I have the perfect little update to that couple. I just have to get it out of my brain, So that's what's happening over here. Ain't nothing going on but the rent is what my mama would say. Yeah, that's what's happening here at Books by D.L. White. I am reading a lot. I am writing a lot. I am... I'm just trying to make it. I'm just trying to make it over here. I feel like I'm doing better than I was in November and December, but I am kind of dreading the back half of January. I just know I'm going to be digging hard into reading, into writing, working, getting the work done. I'm somewhat unmotivated. It could have a lot to do with this cold, but also that vacation was long and it was really, really needed. And I hated to come back. Even though I really like my job, I hated to come back and dig back into work and meetings and scheduling things, and the emails were flying. I definitely just eased real slow, nice and slow back into the year. So it is Sunday. I have coffee. I went through my my planner and all of my streaming channels, and I wrote down all of the things that I have saved in my watch later queues and wrote them all down. So I have lists on lists on lists of things I can be watching besides the news, things I can be looking at besides doom scrolling on all the social media sites, things I can be reading, writing, or watching for this next however long. That's how I'm going to be making it through. I am so very interested in your plan for the next few years, how you are going to be pulling yourself through what I feel are going to be some very interesting, and by interesting, I mean terrible times. So feel free to shout me out a holler. This episode will be on my website at booksbydlwhite.bookcast.com/107. You can also hit this episode on my Substack, or you can shoot me an email. It's authordlwhite@booksbydlwhite.com. I'm sorry, it's authordl@booksbydlwhite.com. I welcome your comments, questions, feedback, what have you. That brings us to the end of today's show, so I will bid you adieu, but not before thanking you so much for joining me for today's chat. I really enjoy having you here. Again, I welcome any comments or feedback at booksbydlwhite.com/bookcast/107. You'll find full show notes, links to all the things I talked about if they're relevant, and a transcript for today's show. Please share the podcast if you really enjoyed the sound of my voice, as I appear to. And if you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Substack, give a girl a rating, a comment, a hand clap, a repost, restack. I really appreciate it. Do not forget, you can support this podcast with your book purchases at payhip.com/booksbydlwhite by spreading the good word, like repost all my social media, what have you, by joining the newsletter or the Substack. The links will be on my website at booksbydlwhite.com/link in bio. You can also throw some coins in the hat at bookcast.buzzsprout.com. Thank you so much to my monthly supporters. Your gift covers my Buzzsprout subscription. I really appreciate the support, and as a thank you, I have added you to comped users at Short Fiction by D.L. White. www.substack.com. So people who support the podcast with their funds are automatically added to subscribers on the short fiction Substack, so they get access to everything that is available to paid subscribers over there. I figured that would be a nice little perk. The Bookcast is written, produced, and edited by me, D.L. White. Our theme music and any sound effects are provided by Pixabay. I will be back next week. Until then, please enjoy your weekend. Have a superlative week, and we'll chat again soon. Bye-bye.